before I was thinking like, oh, just career, or I gotta get like as high as possible in my career. But now I'm like, okay, I have to find a good way to balance being a good mom, but also still, I don't need to like exceed expectations all the time at my job, but also still just be able to like do well enough in my job that I can keep my job and I can feel proud of myself and be a good example to my daughter too.
This is Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp, where I help tech professionals in their 20s and 30s balance a great life today without sacrificing their future possibilities. I'm your host, Lucas Caceres, certified financial planner and founder of Level Up Financial Planning, where I help educate, coach, and build strategies with my clients to help them take their financial confidence to the next level. Hello, thanks for joining Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp. I'm super excited to have Rizel Scarlett with me today. She's the tech lead of open source developer relations at Block, with a diverse background spanning GitHub, startups, and nonprofit organizations. Rizel has cultivated a passion for utilizing emerging technologies to champion equity within the tech industry. She moonlights as an advisor at G Code House, an organization aimed at teaching women of color and non-binary people of color to code. Rizel believes in leveraging vulnerability, honesty, and kindness as a means to educate early career developers. Thanks for coming on the show today, Rizel.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Yep. And so obviously you're in tech. We're going to talk a little bit about that, but I always just kind of want to know because people come from so many different backgrounds, so many different experiences. Early career, I saw you were an alum of Resilient Coders and have some other kind of programs that you went through as well.
Yeah.
Resilient Coders just kind of stuck in my mind because I am such aware of it and I know it's such a great program. But I also saw that you have a certification for, was it like phlebotomy? I don't even know how to pronounce it. A phlebotomy technician way back when, once upon a time. So tell me about the early days of finding your way into tech.
Yeah, so basically for me, I started college, but this was like 2016-ish. So at the time there wasn't a lot of like scholarships for people who were like at the time I was on an undocumented immigrant, so there wasn't
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of like scholarships and stuff like that for us. So I was paying out of pocket and then I was like, okay, after one semester, I was like, this is impossible.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I was like, this is hard. I mean, I had like a merit scholarship, but still it wasn't like enough to cover everything. So
Yep.
I ended up having to like drop out and I was like, all right, I'm gonna rethink my plan because I had just randomly chose psychology because I don't know, when you're 18, you don't know. I like opened the book of
Yeah.
majors and I was like, okay, that sounds cool. I don't know. But then I started thinking more deeply when I had to drop out. I was like, oh, this for me to like continue this type of career, I would need like a more advanced degree. I can't even finish this first semester. I need to like rethink everything. So, and during that time too, I became like a more permanent resident,
Yeah.
and I started thinking like, oh, what are the other things out there? And tech kept popping up online when I will like Google like what jobs make the most money, or for
Yep. Yeah.
like
Yep.
just being honest, I was like, but jobs make a lot of money for like a very like you don't have to get like a super high degree. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh, you can get an associate's degree and still do certain things. So I was like, okay, cool. I decided I was going to go to community college, and at the same time, like community college is very cheap, but I still need a little bit of money. So I was like,
Yep.
oh, I'll just become a phlebotomy technician. It was like a really short program. I did
Nice.
that. I used that to pay for my way through school. But I was a really bad phlebotomist.
That's taking blood, right?
Yes, it's drawing blood.
Yeah.
I
So
was
you're like
not
poking
good.
people.
Yeah. I was not those type of people that, like you draw the blood and you're like, whoa, I didn't even feel it. No, people felt it for me. And I was like, I'm sorry.
I I've always been scared of like stuff like that because way back when in high school they did like a blood drive and one of my friends got his blood drawn for that and his whole like from his like shoulder to like his forearm just like turned into like the Hulk but it was all purple and like and just swollen. And I was like,
Oh,
yeah, that
like
just freaked me out of needles and everything after that. So I don't you never were back in Illinois, right? It would probably have been way too long ago. It was like 15 years ago.
oh my God. That's scary. Yeah, no, I wouldn't go back to that. I'm not scared of blood and stuff like that. I didn't want to give anybody those type of arms that you just described.
Yeah. No, holy moly. And so yeah, you were already kind of working on like, hey, found tech is probably the direction I'm headed, but that was kind of to work our way through school, and I think it was pretty obvious like that wasn't going to be a long-term thing you were excited
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like this. It's just something that gives me more than minimum wage.
Yep.
So I gotta, for me, I think of things of like, okay, like I gotta do this to get to this place.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I do financial planning, so having a plan and kind of associating that with your goals, like I'm all about that. So that makes a ton of sense. And so while you were going through school, you did school and you did resilient coders and kind
Oh
of
yeah,
was
there was
that
a
that was
lot.
after school?
Yeah, I forgot about you. That was your original question to me. Yeah, yeah. So okay, in community college, I did computer information systems. So that allowed me to be an IT support person. And like I was working like as that a company called HubSpot, and that's when I got exposed to people coding. Like I had already wanted to do like more code heavy stuff, but I was a little nervous of like the math and all that. And
Yeah.
people
Yep.
were telling me, yeah, I was like, I mean, well, you're probably good at math. You do finance.
Yep.
But I hadn't had good experiences with math. So I was like, I don't know. But as I was like talking to software engineers there, some of them were like, yeah, I don't even have like a degree in computer science. Or they were like, oh yeah, I'm not good at math. You could do it. And so then another time I Googled free coding boot camps and then
Yep.
resilient coders came up and other things like hack diversity. So I kind of just like went into whatever program that will let me in and will show me the ropes
Yep.
of,
Yep. Yep.
of
And
exploring tech. And that's how I got here. Yeah.
that's awesome. And so what was like the first feeling like you're like officially in tech, not like that the IT support? How did you end up landing that first role?
Yeah, after Resilient Coders, I got a couple internships, one at Form Labs, one at a company called Vested Nautical. But I think when I started working at a startup called Hymer Marley, I was like, oh, I'm really in tech. Because I was no longer an intern and they were like giving me real tickets. And I was like, oh, this is a real responsibility now. So yeah, that's
Yep.
when. Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. And I know right now you're in the thick of your career, and how have things changed from your perspective now versus what you originally thought? So when you were first trying to get in, what were your initial thoughts of trying to break into tech?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. I think I was more in just like a survival type of mode. Like I was just like I just want to get in and do what I have to do. Like I hope I was in my head I was like I will be able to just do the job.
Yep.
Now I think I've started to find my footing where I'm like able to more thrive in the roles. I'm not like wondering, like I think when I first started, I was kind of like I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do. I think a lot of junior software engineers like you get a ticket and like everyone seems like they know what they're doing and you're just sitting there like, "Oh, I hope I'm doing the right thing." Now I
Yep.
feel more confident that I am doing the right thing and I'm more looking for ways to either level up or use the gains that I have to like get the things I want in life, like buying a house. Like I bought a house and or like deciding to start a family and stuff like that.
Perfect. And so I know family is a reason. So you've been in tech. Did the buying the house come kind of after tech got going and then kind of career was going there?
Yeah, yeah. I bought a house maybe I think it was 2 years ago, and I've been in tech for like since 2017 or something like that. I don't know if I have the year right, but yeah, it came afterwards when I saved up a bit, and then my husband saved up too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And kind of getting into the parenting, but just kind of in like even the financial planning stuff. Some of the stuff I see sometimes with clients and like being able to purchase a house. Where you guys, did you think that purchasing a house was never going to be possible with all of like the news and headlines of seeing what home prices were and interest rates were, or did you kind of have that game plan all along? Like, no, I think because of this salary, this savings, and kind of what we're looking at, like we're going to be fine. We're going to be able to purchase it, and things kind of went as planned. Or were you more freaked out before you got to that point?
I think I was freaked out. I think
Yeah.
when I
Yep.
when I first moved in with my husband, like my mom and his mom were like, "You guys can buy a house," and like they felt we could because we made more money than they ever made.
Mm,
But
yep.
I was like looking at the housing market, and I'm like, I don't think we can. Like, like yeah, we make six figures, but we kind of just started making this amount. Even though we like when I was in tech, I like made like like when I first got in, I made like 60 or 70 or 80, you know what I mean? That wasn't like a lot of money. I mean, it's more than some people, but still it wasn't like a large amount. So I didn't feel like we could. But after just living in an apartment with my husband, I was like, you know what? I think we should actually try to save up for this and like plan this out. So it didn't seem like a reality, but after a while, I was like, let's just give it a go because it doesn't seem like the rates are going down in our direction. I live in Massachusetts. It's pretty expensive.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's that's awesome and congrats. I know most people, at least even back in what was it, like 2017 when I first launched my company,
Yeah.
even when the interest rates were dramatically lower than they are, house prices were dramatically lower than they are today. I would have tech folks and they would be freaked out too. So that's why since you brought up buying the house and things like that, I was like, oh, I'm curious if you experience a lot of the same things my clients did, where a lot of stress, but once you dig into the numbers, as long as you're saving at least a chunk of your funds, you might not get the greatest first house ever, but like you could get a decent starter home being in tech, being in your career for a few years and things like that. I know it's scary with all the numbers and details flying around, but yeah, just hearing you mention that, I was like, oh, I was curious kind of what your experience was approaching that. So searching, going back to career stuff, what tips would you give to people trying to break in now? I know it's obviously different now versus
Yeah.
when you broke in. You said it was about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so quite a different landscape probably as far as job opportunities and things like that. What tips would you give to folks today if you were, and I know that you do some like mentoring and coaching and stuff like that, right? For people breaking into tech.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it's definitely much harder. So I definitely sympathize or empathize with people who are trying to get a job right now. But I would say, like, try to learn in public, like, show what you're doing and learning and put it on GitHub or LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever those like hiring managers will be.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people don't realize it, even if you're like not getting likes or something, people are probably watching your post and your growth. And then they're like, okay, great. Like, I know that this person has a certain amount of knowledge. And then in the interview, or like they'll invite you to interview, or they'll see your name pop up and they're like, I know that person. I think that helped me too, because at first, even back then, even though it was much easier to get jobs, people
Yeah.
were like, who is this? Like, or they like, would challenge my knowledge. But after a while, when I put myself out there, they're like, oh no, I know your blog post. I know that you know what you're talking about. And so it made like the bar a little bit lower for me, and it made the conversations easier to have. And then I will also say like find communities of like people that are like you. Like I find a lot of like communities for women in tech or black people in tech, and they often are like sharing jobs or even other career types that I didn't think about. So those are my
Yeah.
two tips.
Yeah. Awesome. And that's one thing that I don't think I hear quite enough, even though I kind of see people share the building in public part. But the thing that you mentioned where people are seeing it even if you're not getting likes, and like just think about how whoever's listening to this right now, like you don't like every single thing that you ever see, but you do see a lot of stuff. And yeah, like so many times I'll have people be like, "Oh yeah, I saw that." I'm like, "Wait, really? I didn't know you knew I existed."
Right.
I'd be like, "No, like I've been looking at all this stuff." I'm like, "Well, I'm glad that people are seeing it, even though I don't know that they are." But yeah, that happens the same thing when you're looking for job opportunities and connections that way, and a lot of times those people end up liking stuff in the future. It's just
Yeah.
you doing stuff in public gives them the ability to get to know you a little bit more, get more familiar with you. And that's why I know I don't like every single thing I post. Is like, I don't know who this person is outside of that. Like maybe they have some crazy thoughts that I don't want people like associating me with that person. But once I see like, oh no, they seem fairly stable, like I'll be more generous with the kind of like and post and stuff. So other people are like that too. And so I think that's a cool one that I haven't heard shared often enough that, hey, just because you're not getting likes, that doesn't mean that there's not people that are seeing it. but then also aren't like enjoying and benefiting because there's people at various stages in their career too. Perfect. I really appreciate you sharing those, and we'll dive more into community a little bit later in the show today when I ask you some thoughts on that. But one thing I know wasn't in your bio, we kind of talked about it a little bit, but I had a baby recently, and I know your family is super important to you. Being a good mom is important to you. Being awesome at work is important to you. Before you had your baby, though, what did you think about navigating a career while growing a family?
Hmm. That's a good question. I know you have written it for me, and I didn't even think about I didn't think about my answer.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't. I think I thought it would be easier. Well, I knew it would be hard.
Mhm.
Everyone says it's hard. I'm like, oh, of course it is. I'm
Yep.
like, but I'm a hard worker. I'm gonna be able to get this everything I need to get done. And I think I was still thinking in a mindset of like it's just me.
Mhm.
But now that I have a kid, I'm like, oh, I can't just stay on my computer all the time because I need to like bond with her and make sure that I'm present in her life and that she I don't know, I'm in charge of I'm responsible for another life and the life experiences that she ends up having.
Yeah.
So I think I'm in a state now, like before I was thinking like, oh, just career, career, career. I gotta get like as high as possible in my career. But now I'm like, okay, I have to find a good way to balance take being a good mom, but also still, I don't need to like exceed expectations all the time with my job, but also still just be able to like do well enough in my job that I can keep my job and I can feel proud of myself and be a good example to my daughter too.
Yeah. Well, and you've gotten to where you're at in your job by being the hard worker that you've been and kind of having that attitude of I can get anything done. So I'm sure you just have like really high expectations and of yourself anyways. And so like a lot of times you performing slightly under your ultra high expectations are still possibly outperforming many other folks. And so that's something I kind of have to remind some of my clients of. Sometimes I have to remind myself, my wife sometimes. And so yeah, I think that's very important. What tips do you have for folks? I know you're just a few months into it, but like there's things that I'm sure you've learned over the last few months that work better than not, or
Yeah.
just that you learned and were surprised about and want to make sure other people are aware and have these tips to navigate what's something is super hard, right? Like being a parent.
Yeah. I mean, this is, I guess, a dumb one, but like, get a babysitter or somebody,
Yep.
even if you work from home. Like,
Yep.
I feel like I was like, I think I could do it because I'm already home. I'm just gonna hold my baby, but like, there's a lot of demands from a kid. So
Yeah.
definitely get some kind of childcare so that you can be able to balance both. I would say also figure out like what expectations you and your spouse have of each other. I think that was like one thing between like me and my husband at first that we were like confused that like who's going to do what. I don't know. Or
Yep.
like he would or even especially as like a mom, like say if something is hard, like I used to when my freight baby was first born, he was helping, of course, he's a really great dad, but then he would like go to the movies or something and I'd be sitting there like, I can't believe he went to the movies and I'm here with her. And then I told him and he was like, oh, I didn't know. Like he's like, I thought you were like fine.
Yeah, that you're like happy to have your own time with her.
Right. And then another thing is like I think setting expectations with your boss as well as you like move back into the job, like what how much time are you going to need? Like just letting them know because they may not have a kid and they may just think you can just jump right back in. But like let them know like, oh, like this is how much I'm gonna be able to do, or these are my hours. Maybe I can like have a ramp up period or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And things are always changing
Yeah.
with the different stages. Like you're probably seeing it like every week or every month right now. Then the periods will start to get a little bit longer. Just having four myself that are a little bit ahead of yours as far as age. Yeah, like those are amazing tips, and I would just definitely agree with all those things. Like making sure you have a plan for, well, how can you get the work done that you need to, and then coming back from maternity, paternity leave, depending on kind of what that leave is for you, like having those expectations so that everyone, like no one gets frustrated. They kind of know what it's going to be, and maybe you end up doing something more or faster. But yeah, I'm sure it reduced a lot of stress for you to proactively do that. Was it comfortable or easy for you to be like, hey, like this is kind of what I've been need, or were you freaked out to have those conversations?
I think I'm always gonna be freaked out to have those conversations because I always, like you said, I guess I have high expectations of myself. So I always want to be doing more. So I'm like, oh my God, so embarrassing. I'm asking to do like less. But but I think it ended up being fine and much better for myself.
No, yeah, and me owning a business, I don't have to have like some of those conversations, but my wife has traditional employment and so like I know she always like freaks out whenever like, oh, we need to take off her doctor's appointment or something. And it's like I'm not stressed at all because I just make sure I block it out, but I don't have like the teams and all the other integrated like responsibilities of dealing with other folks. And so I see how stressed she is from having the babies and having time off for that, and then usually trying to get back to work sooner. Was how was that period of maternity leave for you? Like were you like glad to have the time and like used up as much as possible? Or were you kind of starting to ease in and starting to work like even before your official maternity date was up?
I think you saw me. I was starting to work. Okay,
Yeah.
so I think when I was like nearing like the delivery time, it was great that I got to take time off
Yeah.
because I definitely started getting more crankier. I don't know. I was not in a good mood to
No, no,
to
no, my
work.
wife too. No, so yeah, I definitely experienced that personally.
I was definitely a little snappy. So it was good when like I got a break from being able to work. I had a good maternity leave. They give us like 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it was pretty good. But because it was winter and it's like cold over here, I kind of felt like I was just having like the same day over and over again. I'm like, okay. I like watching all these Netflix shows and then like my baby's like, okay, like 5 days old, 3 weeks old. So like I
Mhm.
can only stay out with her for so long. So that's kind of why I like asked to go back to work a little bit early. And my manager was really easy on me. She was like, I'm not expecting you to like do too much. And it started with me just like, I will contribute to open source a little bit. Like the project my company is has is open source. It's called Goose. So
Yeah,
like I would contribute to that. And then after that, I was like, yeah, I kind of want to come back just like as like on a short-term basis. And I think that gave me a little bit more a little bit of a difference in my day,
yeah,
but it also helped me figure out when I will have to go back full time, like how I would like organize my day, how I would make sure I have enough time for my baby or who should watch her. That helped me to realize, oh shoot, like I cannot do this job and have
yeah,
the
yeah.
baby at the same time and like just figure out like, okay, I probably need time to like walk outside. Here's how I'm going to organize stuff and ease into the fact that like I was going from when I went on maternity leave, I was just a developer advocate, and then when I came back, I was a tech lead. So that like gave me like a little bit like of a training period.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, then I'm sure it helps a lot too, like that you already had experience with your employer, probably with your managers and whatnot. I know my wife made like a transition, I think like while coming off of like maternity leave and whatnot, and that was like really difficult because like she was having those conversations with a new person at a new employer and stuff. So yeah, it can be super stressful, and I think it's unfortunately and unfairly like more stressful because more people expect stuff of the mother as far as like parenting and parenting responsibilities and stuff like that.
Yeah, I bet that's hard. Like, I think it was much easier for me because my manager is like, I already know that you will put in a lot of work.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're new at a job, you feel like you have to prove yourself.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yeah, that could be stressful.
Perfect. And now a quick message from our nonprofit sponsor, Tech by Choice.
Tech by Choice is a nonprofit that's focused on helping underrepresented groups understand, thrive in tech. Our main goal is to be a community that you don't need a code switch in order to learn what you need. to thrive in tech. And so we do workshops for skill building. We talk about financial literacy. We also talk about mental health and what to do if you run into discrimination in the workplace. Any donations, if you go to techbychoice.org/donate, you'll get all of the details on how you can give to the organization. Things as little as like $5 really help us go. The other way that you can get involved and help Tech by Choice is to volunteer. We are always looking for mentors, and we're looking for people to help out with some of our resume review events and just supporting the community by even joining and answering questions in our Slack is always really helpful. And then if you have any connections for us to get those sponsorship deals and connect with larger companies and get out there in the tech streets, I'm always open to that as well. So there's a lot of different ways to help.
We mentioned community in the past. What do you think would be something that is important to you to share with folks who want to find community? Because there's a lot of folks out there that are kind of off wandering on their own, trying to do things on their own and hitting roadblocks and rough patches, and they don't have that community support, and that can mean that, hey, they're off ramping and kind of fizzling out. Where if they did have community there, maybe there could have been a conversation or a person that could have kind of helped bridge that little gap or that bump that they're running into. So what tips do you have for creating community or finding your community?
Good question. I think, okay, how do you find communities? I mean, there's just a lot of programs out there. They are starting to go down now, I guess, because of like,
Like a
you
lot of
know,
the nonprofits, right?
yeah, yeah, a lot of nonprofits. But I think if you're active on social media and you're paying attention and trying to follow different people, like if you find someone and you're following them and they're bringing like good thoughts, like maybe whether it's about developing, like if you're a software engineer or whatever like career that you're in, if you're like, oh, they're adding a couple of tidbits, it's
Mm.
good to follow them. Even just a like or a retweet can help to establish a sort of relationship, I guess. And I think as you start following more and more people, you will start to find the little niche communities, if that makes any sense. Like
Mm.
as I started following people too, for me, like I didn't know all of these other technical people, but as I started following them, I was like, oh, I didn't realize that this particular person had his own community, like, and allows people to join in, like even if it's like a live streamer or something like that. Like we can all hang out together. There's lots of digital communities. People have Discords. And I think saying hello, introducing yourself, open source communities as well. I think saying hello like goes a long way. For a long time I used to like try to contribute to open source and I'll get so overwhelmed. I'm like, it looks scary. I don't know what I'm supposed to
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as soon as I said hello in the Discord and like I was like, "Hey guys, I want to pick up this ticket. I want to work on it." Everybody was like super friendly and that like scariness kind of went away from me. I'm like, "Oh, okay, like I could do this. These
Yeah.
are regular people." So I think introducing yourself to people, just like a light like or a retweet that kind of establishes a relationship without you even having to talk with them. And I think for creating your own, I feel like I rambled a lot, sorry. But for
Well,
creating
no,
your
those are perfect. And as far as like creating your own, if that doesn't necessarily have to be
own,
something, if that's not like I didn't know how you went about building your communities, whether you kind of felt like you were inviting people into your ecosphere, or if yeah, you were kind of actively searching out and then joining those other communities. But if you do have tips, I think that would be helpful as well.
yeah, yeah. I did join a lot of communities and then after a while I decided to just create my own. I made one for developer advocates who are in developer relations. I made one for Black people who are in developer relations or are interested.
Yeah, awesome.
I didn't feel comfortable doing it at first when like I was still trying to find my footing in communities, I guess. But
Yeah.
I kind of reached out to people and I asked them like, what do you think of this idea? Like, do you think it would be helpful? And they were like, yeah, definitely. So I just created it and I messaged people to join it and then I just posted it on Twitter and I was like, hey, you guys want to be part of this? And everyone said yes. So I don't know if I have too many tips. Like, just do it again.
Yeah, once it a lot of the stuff that you're talking about is like super low risk, like add in a like, retweet in, even inviting people. Like, yeah, it seems super risky, but the worst they could say is no, or like you're you're not asking them to join a cult or anything like crazy. So it's like, yeah, the worst they could say no, they could ignore you. But like if it is a yes, then you provide value to them or they provide value to someone else in the community, like the possibility of them saying yes is like so much more valuable than the who cares if they say no type situation.
Right, exactly. I don't even remember the people that told me they didn't want to or didn't answer. I'm like, whatever. I have my community. It's nice. We meet every 2 weeks
That's
for like
awesome.
an hour and we just like chat about whatever. It's super fun.
Well, and that's amazing. I don't even think I knew that you had the community. I just, yeah, I had the question. Like, I know community is a big part of what keeps you going, kind of what keeps you energized, because I see you're as active as you are, even with growing your family. And so, man, I'm glad that I did ask how to build a community because it seems like it's as simple as having an idea, then inviting folks. And once you have a couple in there, right, it's a community.
Yeah,
And then I'm sure they help it grow too, right?
yeah, they do. They invite more people. It makes it great. Yeah. I've met so many people because of it.
Awesome. Perfect. So, transition a little bit into something else I know you're excited about and really focused on it, which is learning about leadership. And I know I fell into leadership roles in the past, and I know a lot of folks like that's just how they get into leadership. It's like, hey, they were hard workers, people take notice and they say, hey, you should be some type of a leader. But it seems like you're more actively involved in kind of looking out for these opportunities. What's been the most valuable resource that you've seen so far, kind of on your quest to learn more about leadership?
Oh, yeah. I guess people suggested to me to watch videos of this thing or this series called Bleed Dev. So I've been watching that a lot, and that's taught me a lot about like what tech leadership means. Apparently, I have to unblock people. That's like my new role now.
Yeah.
Besides that, I think I've leaned on my managers too. Like even when I worked at GitHub, I loved listening to my manager at the time, Brian Douglas. Like our one-on-ones would just be him telling me what he has to do. Because
Yeah.
I no, I didn't. Sometimes I don't say anything. I'm like, I don't know what to say, and he just tells me what his job entails of for that day or for the week, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And then I kind of have an idea of like how he goes about things and maybe how I can contribute. And then at this current job, like I was clear with my manager that like I want to eventually get into some kind of leadership and I wanted to learn from her how to do that. So she's been like the perfect resource for me because she's a VP of DevRel. She's been Angie Jones. She's been in like the game
Oh,
for
yeah.
so
Yep.
yeah. So it's so like I would say watch videos like lead dev if you're in tech, but then also lean on your managers because
Yep.
those are people that are in leadership roles and you can learn so much just by listening to them.
Yeah. And so many of like your tips and some of the things that have helped you get to where you are today, it sounds like is just like communication and just asking.
Yeah.
Like it's which like it seems simple, but I think a lot of people and you mentioned like, yeah, you've been afraid to ask and have those conversations, but you do it anyways. And I'm sure you wouldn't be in your career if you didn't do those types of things. But yeah, it seems super simple, right? Like talk to people, find out how you can help them and what would make things easier for them, and then and ask them if they can share that information with you or if they want to join your community. You talked about communicating with your husband, about figuring out kind of how best to navigate parenthood, those things. So that's awesome. As we wrap up, anything else that you want to make sure that we add? Any kind of final tips, whether it be on parenting, community, leadership?
Hmm, this is a good question. I think I would just emphasize the the like go outside of your comfort zone even if something seems scary,
Hmm.
just go ahead and try it. It doesn't I'm not guaranteeing that it will always work because some of the stuff I've tried, they fail, but like that's the only way that I can figure things out. Even like, let's say getting to be on this podcast, I wouldn't have gotten to be if I didn't tweet and say anyone want me on their podcast, which it feels
Yep.
scary. Like I'm like, oh, this feels like corny. Like, okay, can I be on y'all's podcast? But I still got to be on one.
Yep.
So
Yeah, yeah. One, I know other folks are taking you up on it. I think one, it looked like you're going to be like a repeat guest for someone else, and so like, yeah, for whatever reason, we're scared of things, and we a lot of times we don't have to be, and maybe things fail if no one met like liked it or responded. It doesn't mean that no one wanting to, just maybe that person didn't see the thing. I was super excited to have you on. I think one of my first like I think this is season 6 of my podcast, but season 1, probably like episode 3 or 4 of my podcast, I had an older person in tech who's retired, but like she went through like the same stuff you're going through now, but like 30 years ago when when she had babies and she was navigating her tech career and things were even more different then because there was less women in tech back then. I know those numbers are not that great still today, but things were even like different
word.
as far as kind of family expectations and things like that and roles. So I was like, oh man, it seems like a perfect thing to talk about like real relevant stuff today as far as what people are thinking about as they're thinking about having families. And some people I know, I'm sure you see this stuff on Twitter all the time, the crazy stuff like being parenting is the worst or being a parent is
Yeah.
the best. Not too many people say in between. It's like very strong one way or another. But
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's like, hey, do your best to just kind of know what kind of life you want to build because a
Yes.
child does impact that a ton, but it can be pretty awesome if that's kind of the way you want to line up. What's your favorite thing about being a parent as we wrap up? I thought of one last question I wanted to ask you.
Okay, it's so fun to just see her grow, like get different milestones. I'm like, oh my gosh, you could grow. This is so cool. And then like I don't know, small stuff like if I walk in a room, she's like smiling, like mad excited to see me. I'm like, okay, hey. So those are the type of stuff that I've really enjoyed.
Yeah, yep, and it gets crazy when they start being all talk, be like, "Oh, you're the best," and we like just had Father's Day or whatever, and so they do the cards and they do all the cool like crafts and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, that stuff is just like it just kind of graduates and like it so far it hasn't gotten old. So yeah, I hope that you enjoy so many more moments like that of you walking into rooms and seeing her light up and just yeah all the cool fun experiences that lie ahead for you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on the show. It was awesome getting to hear more about you and then all the amazing tips. And yeah, I think the communication and just asking and then putting yourself out there and getting out your comfort zone, like I know those types of things have gotten me so far in my career and a lot of the folks I know that are successful, like at least one of those things are kind of coming into play and it sounds like you're using a lot of things in combination and to just kind of be gritty and be successful in your career and be successful as a parent. So thank you for coming on and sharing all that awesome information.
Thank you for having me. They were great questions.
Nonprofit sponsors were provided ad space at no charge. I think they're awesome and I wanted to provide them a platform to spread awareness about the great work that they do. Thank you so much for listening to Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp. You can find show notes by visiting levelupfinancialplanning.com and finding the podcast page. You'll also be able to find strategy guides, videos, and cheat sheets to help you take your financial confidence to the next level. If you feel this episode has added a ton of value for you, please rate and share this with friends and colleagues. Catch you next time on Techie Personal Finance Bootcamp.